Pardon the interruption, but I'm Pablo Torre. Tony, a compound found in mushrooms reportedly delays aging.
Tony Kornheiser, it would have been nice if someone had told me that a few decades ago. I think I've passed that point now. Of course, when I was a kid,
there's still time.
There was magic mushrooms when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know that we want to talk about that on a family show.
It's science now. Oh, it's science, and it's ever more available and researched and available to you specifically. I'd love Tony Kornheiser on magic mushrooms.
Yeah, is it available in gummy bears? Everything seems to be available in gummy bears. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. Wilbon has a day off, and I am joined by our great friend who we stay close to so he doesn't investigate us. The host of the podcast, Pablo Torre Finds Out, Mr. Pablo Torre. And we begin today with NFL contract drama. All-pro pass rushers Micah Parsons of the Cowboys and Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals, they want new deals. Parsons reported to camp and practice today. Hendrickson has not reported and has posted a photo on social media of a road in Florida, which presumably is where he is. Pablo, which ownership do you have more confidence in to get a deal done with these stars?
It's the Cowboys, Tony, because we've seen this before. The theatrical production of Jerry Jones behind a microphone making his team a reality show. He's basically said explicitly that he enjoys it when his team controversy gets to make news. And so will it take a while? Sure. Dak Prescott is one data point here that suggests enough time for everybody that we know, including us, to argue about it. But it kind of feels like directionally they're going to get it done. The Bengals and Mike Brown, he is cost effective, let's say generously, in a different, less predictable way, even if we know him to also be quite tight with the purse strings. So give me Jerry in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The answer is I have complete confidence in Jerry Jones. And I would ask you to name me a bunch of Cowboys who have ever left because they couldn't get a deal done. And the answer is you can't do that because the Cowboys always get who they want. And why does that happen? Because Jerry Jones makes the deal in his own sweet time, so he can be large and in charge, but he makes the deal. Now, I'm not going to repeat all the stuff that you said. I'm going to go to something else. The best part of the story was me finding out today that Jerry's son, Steven, says that Jerry doesn't speak to agents. What? He doesn't speak to agents? I thought that I was in an alien universe because I never go on social media. But he doesn't even speak to agents. Can you imagine any other owner doing that? No, you cannot. Can you imagine anyone at ESPN not talking to agents? No, you cannot imagine that. Because they all talk. So Jerry Jones has become my hero because in the main, sports agents are self-inflated barnacles who just want to be, in the middle of the big show. And if he doesn't speak with them, that's fabulous. And, he's going to get this done. The Bengals may get it done, too. Jerry's going to get it done.
I just like that by extension, I'm just doing the math here, my agent is a barnacle on a barnacle attached to you, which is how I feel about my role doing this show with you these days. But I digress. Because your whole thing here, Tony, in which you have a distance from the way the business of the sausage making actually works in your life is like Jerry's, with a key difference. Jerry will walk up to any microphone you put in front of him, and he'll say something deeply controversial in a way that you run from. Jerry Jones will say he's been injured for 6 games. And it's like, actually, it's 4, but he enjoys the mistake, and maybe it's not a mistake for that reason, which is also part of
he enjoys
this
every part of it. He enjoys being the public face of the team he owns more than most enjoy that if they're in a similar circumstance. He milks it, but again, I'm not saying he makes all the right decisions, but if he wants somebody, he gets that person. He writes the check. He writes it personally. He does it.
He does. But speaking of writing checks, I want to move to Memphis and its thirsty offer to the Big 12. And you know what that word means, Tony, thirsty. Yahoo reports that the school currently in the American Conference is expected to offer the Big 12 up to $200 million in sponsorship opportunities from school boosters over a 5-year period to join. And in addition, Memphis would forego any revenue shares for that same period of time. Now, league-wide support from the Big 12, those member schools, is reportedly not yet there. But Tony, what does Memphis's offer to the Big 12 say to you?
Well, the first thing it says to me is that the American Conference is a clown show. They ought to consider closing the door at 6 o'clock tonight and just ending business completely, because here's Memphis saying, we want to get out of there so badly that we will pay a bunch of other people $200 million. They don't have to give us anything back. And not only that, if after 5 years they don't like us, they can get rid of us and we won't ask for anything back. So if I'm the commissioner of the American Conference, I'm looking for a hole to crawl into. Now, Pablo, I don't know about you, but I've always sort of thought as Memphis is on the border of being an outlaw school, not unlike SMU. Not unlike that. And it seems to me, I don't associate Memphis with anything that's particularly good. It feels to me like they're trying to buy in to good, sort of like sports washing, as far as I'm concerned. SMU did this with the ACC. They said, how much money do you want? Here is the money. Just let us in. And I believe that last year they won the football conference and they went to the college playoffs. So it's almost like SMU is a real college now. And I think Memphis is trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I imagine this as a party. And you don't want Memphis in the party because they're not that good, honestly. But, Tony, you got a new friend who says, I'm gonna buy everybody dinner for the next 5 years. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Different party. Welcome to Memphis, potentially. So, yes, to get to do the thing that will make those playing the Tony Kornheiser, Pablo Torre drinking game blackout drunk, I get to quote Don Ohlmeyer, a.k.a. quote you quoting Don Ohlmeyer. The answer to all your questions is money. Yes?
Money.
And so Memphis says, I got sponsors. I know you don't like me for me, but what about the friends I bring? And they say, ooh, okay, well, we could use that.
Well, Memphis is a good team. Memphis had big-time winning records the last 2 years in football.
Sure.
And I would just say this, and I'll take about 20 seconds. The Big 12 is a second-rate conference. All right, Texas and Oklahoma moved out of the Big 12. And they got back Cincinnati and Central Florida, I think, and BYU. So that was not a net plus for them losing Texas and Oklahoma. And if I were Memphis, I'd feel very badly if I were rejected by college presidents at a second-rate conference. And I don't know what I would do then. Maybe I'd go to the fifth-rate new Pac-12. But because it's humbling to have to go to these people and say, here's all the money in the world, just let us in. We move on. We move to soccer. And the only player in the United States worth talking about, Lionel Messi. The MLS soccer game is tomorrow night. Messi's coach at Inter Miami does not want him to play in it. Messi himself did not show up at practice, but there is a rule in the MLS that if you don't post for the All-Star game, you cannot play in the next regular season game. Pablo, if you were Messi, would you want to suit up for tomorrow's All-Star game?
So am I Leo Messi as Leo Messi, or am I Leo Messi as Pablo Torre, who has now referred to himself in the third person twice in this A block, which is to say, do I have a yawning hole that I'd like more affection, celebrity, money to fill? In which case, yes, All-Star game, that is exactly what MLS would love. Tony, this is a parallel, of course, to any sport that needs to sell itself still through the most famous athletes it has. That would be why Leo Messi, as me, in that brain, inside of that body, would want to do this. But Leo Messi, as Leo Messi, is the most famous athlete in the world this side of Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah. So if I'm just him, I'm thinking, you guys need me. I can pretend to be hurt. I can probably get into the regular season game, which you still want me to play in. So probably not in that case.
Okay. So to me, I want to discuss this rule for a second. This rule that says if you don't play in the All-Star game, you cannot play the next regular season game. If I understand this correctly, this rule has been on the books for a while. It predates Messi coming to the MLS and giving the MLS viability. So I would ask you or anyone else, do you really think that the commissioner of the MLS would invoke this rule? No, he would not. Because Messi is bigger than this rule. He is bigger than the commissioner of the MLS. He is bigger than the MLS. Messi can play in whatever game he wants to and not play in whatever game he wants to. And the next game he plays, the commissioner of the MLS at halftime should walk in there with a big platter of food for Messi. If I'm running the MLS, I say to him, is there anything I can do for you? You think Caitlin Clark's important to the WNBA? Messi is that important to the MLS. Anything he wants to do is fine. And let me take this another way, Pablo.
Yeah.
Name me somebody in the Columbus Crew. Oh, time's up. You can't. You can't. You can name Messi. So what? So stop with this nonsense, right?
Well, to be genuine about it, too, at the end here, I want Leo Messi to play because more Leo Messi before he officially rides off into whatever sunset is better for sports fans.
See him.
He's incredible. But I believe, again, there's a Don Ohlmeyer quote about all of this that probably applies to.
He has scored 2 goals. 5 of the last 6 games he's played, he's scored 2. 2 goals is usually 4 games output for most soccer teams. Get out of here. Let's take a break. I love saying that. Get out of here. Coming up, Eugenio Suarez has 5 homers in his last 3 games. So can the Diamondbacks really afford to trade him? We're going to ask Buster Olney.
We will also ask him which GM is under most pressure, the most pressure as the trade deadline approaches.
In my ear, they just said 2 goals in 6 of the last 7. And once again, I get to repeat, get out of here. Who else do you want to see but this guy? Stop with these rules.
Can I stay? Can I stay here? There's a lot of get out of here, and you're just talking to me.
You can stay there till the end of the half hour. Then you have to go. You got it.
Honest.
We have several baseball questions for our great friend, ESPN senior writer, Sunday Night Baseball reporter, and great grower of potatoes, Buster Olney. Let's start with this. Eugenio Suarez of the Diamondbacks. He is supposed to be a top trade deadline candidate, but he has now homered 5 times in his last 3 games. He leads the National League with 36 homers. Do you still expect Arizona to trade him?
Yeah, Tony, I think they will trade him. And in fact, the Diamondbacks front office have told interested teams, and there are a bunch of contenders interested in him, that they will probably trade before the deadline. Suarez would be the biggest name move. With all that power, he interests the Chicago Cubs, the Yankees, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Seattle Mariners, a team he used to play for. Look, the Diamondbacks know from their own experience, you can crawl into the playoffs and make a dent. They won 84 games in 2023 and reached the World Series, but they have a big hill in front of them. They're 5.5 games out of the wild card. So I think, yes, they will sell Suarez and Josh Naylor, some members of their pitching staff before the deadline.
But I want to keep the camera on the front offices here, Buster. In terms of the GMs out there, who are under the most pressure, is there one name to watch as the trade deadline nears?
Yankees general manager Brian Cashman, Pablo. Look, the Yankees reached the World Series last year. They came into spring training this year amid high expectations, but they've had regression on all parts of their team, which is why I think before the deadline, Cashman will land a starting pitcher. He'll land some relief help, and they especially need help at third base, which is why they're one of the teams talking with the Diamondbacks about Suarez. He would be an upgrade that they really need. I don't think they can make a dent in October unless he makes additions. So there's a lot of pressure on him to get stuff done.
Yeah, look, I grew up reading you, Buster, and Tony, so it's weird for me to say this, but back in my day, we used to talk about impact starters. Now we're talking about impact relievers in general. So is there one impact reliever out there that you actually think we should be watching in terms of the most impact that they could make?
And look, among all the positions, there's no question there'll be more relievers traded before the deadline than in any other spot. And the guy that everyone is focused on, hoping to become available, is Ryan Helsley of the St. Louis Cardinals. In fact, I've had managers and GM indicate to me they're hoping the Cardinals continue to drift backward in the standings, so they put him out there. Early in the year, what the Cardinals were telling people was, we're probably not going to trade John Mozeliak in his last year of running that organization, and we want to have a good finish to his time. But they're now 3.5 games behind in the wild card race. Reality is beginning to creep in. Ryan Helsley is a sort of power reliever that teams like Detroit and the Mets, the Yankees, would love to get their hands on.
Buster, just let me add parenthetically how nice it was for Pablo to say that he used to read us when he was a child. That makes me feel very good and very old at the same time. Get you out of here on this. Last year we saw the Tigers, who traded almost everybody at the deadline and then made the playoffs. I think they were the most surprising team in the playoffs. Do you have a sleeper team right now to watch for in the second half?
And it's especially possible, Tony, in the American League, which is generally mediocre this year, which is why I think the Seattle Mariners are incredibly dangerous. Look, they've been playing better of late. It looks like they're going to have their rotation back in order sometime within the next 3 weeks. And that was thought to be the strength of this team. And on top of that, Jerry Dipoto, who runs their baseball operations, is really aggressive in trade talks. The Mariners are actually going to be able to take on some money before the trade deadline, unlike the offseason when they didn't spend. So they could be the team that lands Suarez or Josh Naylor. Who knows? Maybe both. But I think Jerry's going to make a big dent and do some big things before the trade deadline. I think the Mariners are a dangerous team down the stretch.
Thank you as always, Buster. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Buster.
Thanks, Tony.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Phillies win in a highly unusual way.
And Ronald Acuna Jr. also does something you don't see every day, scoring all the way from first on a routine single to center.
Two things, Pablo. First of all, Buster did not thank you directly, which made me feel good.
I noticed that.
And secondly, when you applied to the University of Harvard, did you say, yeah, I've read Kornheiser and Olney, and you ought to let me in? You ought to do that.
Yes, I've read some regional newspapers in the New York area. Newsday, The Times. I cited all of the regional, the directional papers, as it were. Yeah.
Happy time, people. Happy belated 26th birthday, Chris Gotterup. This was Sunday, the day Gotterup was shooting 67 at Royal Port Rush to finish solo third at the British Open, 12 under par. Gotterup is a Jersey kid who played 4 years of golf at Rutgers and 1 year at Oklahoma, where he was All-American. Gotterup was on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2023, qualified for the PGA Tour in 2024. He won the Myrtle Beach Classic last year. Gotterup just had a remarkable 2 weeks in Europe. He won the Scottish Open, holding off Rory McIlroy on Sunday. Then he played in his first British Open and won 72, 65, 68, 67 for third place alone. It seems to me that Gotterup has played his way into some consideration for the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, Tony, in the space of 8 days, this kid earned $2.7 million, which is, by the way, double his career earnings. And an event, a major that was kind of anticlimactic on Sunday, had some great characters in it. There was that Buddhist monk, there's this kid. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Happy anniversary, Greg Maddux. On this day 28 years ago, while pitching for the Atlanta Braves, Maddux threw a complete game, 4-1 victory over his old team, the Cubs. The headline here is that Maddux threw only 78 pitches, and only 15 of them were called balls. Maddux allowed 5 hits, struck out 6, walked none. The time of the game was 2 hours, 7 minutes, and this was before the pitch clock. Greg Maddux was a work of art. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer after a career record of 355 and 227, a 3.16 ERA, and 3,371 strikeouts. He is the pitcher all should aspire to. And his brother Mike is the pitching coach now for the Texas Rangers.
And the Maddux, Tony, that statistic which is invented to honor a very Greg Maddux performance of complete game, less than 100 pitches. He, of course, is the all-time leader in Madduxes, which is appropriate. But it's that mixture of control and also stuff, but really just absolute mastery of how to manage the plate. It's unbelievable.
How about Maddux and Smoltz and Glavine on the same staff in Atlanta? Happy trails to last night's game for the Red Sox. The Phillies loaded the bases with no outs in the bottom of the 10th inning of a tie game. Edmundo Sosa checked his swing on a 2-2 pitch, but tapped the catcher's mitt while doing so. On review, the umps ruled that to be catcher's interference, sending Sosa to first, forcing home the winning run. That is the first walk-off catcher's interference call since 1971, only the second ever. The win kept the Phillies a half game ahead of the Mets in the NL East.
It's just one of those things that can't possibly feel good to anyone there. Like, I get it, yes, you get a half game, lead preserved, that's cool. Just bad, just not satisfying. It's anticlimactic to its maximum anticlimax.
And a bonus happy trail to Tyrann Mathieu. The Saints safety retired on the eve of training camp. The 33-year-old played 12 NFL seasons for 4 teams, being named first-team All-Pro 3 times and winning a Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs. Matthew earned his nickname of Honey Badger at LSU due to his ferocious play. This retirement decision was a bit of a surprise, as Matthew had reworked his deal to stay with the Saints earlier this offseason.
Yeah, this one makes me feel old, Tony. I'm at that age where a guy I saw enter the NFL on the cover of Sports Illustrated was covered, by the way, controversially because he dared to make money off of, like, club appearances. That was the big scandal with him at LSU, is now out of the league. And I feel kind of like you at this point, aging.
Quick to the big finish. Quick, Pablo. Shohei allowed a homer, but also hit one last night. Your reaction?
I'm glad he's still pitching. Gave up 1 earned over 3. Ronald Acuna Jr. scored from first on a ground ball single to center last night. Are you impressed?
Everything he does impresses me. Jonas Valanciunas says he will honor his contract with the Nuggets rather than splitting for Greece. Is that significant?
He's backing up Nikola Jokic, maybe the best player in the world, so yes. Wyndham Clark apologized for damaging his locker at Oakmont. Says he's detailed to the club how he plans to make amends. Your thoughts?
Oakmont detailed to him what he should do. They made it public. There's no negotiations here. Last one, the Miz faces the Mariners as the Brewers go for their 12th win in a row. Do you like their chances?
I do, because I'm sitting in Wilbon's chair and the Cheeseheads. I'm rooting for the Cheeseheads.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. Admiral Paul Becker, get well soon. Big PTI fan.
And I'm Pablo Torre. Thank you for watching. Pablo Torre Finds Out is where I investigate stuff. But for now, here's SportsCenter.
Good job on you, Paul.
But Jerry Jones has always come up at the end and paid his stars.
Shefty, in typical fashion, this is all playing out in front of the media. Jerry talks, then Micah talks, and behind the scenes, what more can you tell us about where contract talks will be?
Well, right now, they're not far along at all. There have not been recent discussions. Now, at one point this spring.
All right, Pablo, the Honey Badger is retiring, so we ask, what is the best nickname in sports?
So this is a great question. And I have been spending our time together trying to figure out if I can beat the Colossus of Clout, the Sultan of Swat, the Bambino, Babe Ruth, who himself, Babe, is a nickname. And I think I got a couple of contenders. Curious what you think. First off, the Pillsbury Throwboy, the hefty lefty Jared Lorenzen, R.I.P. 2 amazing nicknames. Related category,
yes.
round amount of rebound for your friend Charles Barkley, also good.
Right.
But I think I'm going Dr. Duncanstein, Tony. I think I'm going Darrell Griffith because he is a member of your tribe as Dr. Duncanstein. And by that, I, of course, mean he is a fake doctor. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. My problem, and I like Dr. Duncanstein, my problem with that is growing up on Long Island as I did, there's only one doctor. It's Dr. J. Julius Erving. That's all there is. There's no room for another one for me. I've liked some of the team nicknames. Purple People Eaters for the Minnesota Vikings, Steel Curtain, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not a Yankee fan. I always liked the name Bronx Bombers. I always thought that was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, and I like it. It sort of accrues to stars. Like if you are a big star, you have to have a nickname of some sort. I wrote a bunch down. Reggie Jackson was Mr. October. Will
Love
Chamberlain, the Big Dipper. Ted Williams was 2. He was Teddy Ballgame. He was also the Splendid Splinter. You mentioned Ruth and the Bambino. Broadway Joe Namath, which absolutely fit Joe Namath. I can still see that picture in my mind with the theatrical lights in the background and Joe in the green and white uniform on Broadway. The Galloping Ghost, I like that. Deion Sanders Primetime, that is a great nickname. It described him well. Paul Hornung was the golden boy. A small one, a slight one, but perfection is Irvin Magic Johnson. That's absolutely perfection. There are only 2 great ones right now. There's Fairway Jesus for Tommy Fleetwood in golf, and there's Big Dumper, for Cal Raleigh in baseball. So we need more nicknames.
We do.
If you think back to your youth, and the history of sports, nicknames are a very important thing in sports. And if you don't have one, it sort of diminishes your stature over the course of time.
I agree. And I would continue to talk about this with you, except They're in my ear saying you've talked way too long about nicknames, which brings me to my last nickname, which I resemble right now, which of course belongs to Rod Smart. He hate me is what I feel from the producers right now. So that is it. We are done. Back to you.